We're just going to go back to that breaking news story that the U.S. military has just confirmed that it's begun launching a series of powerful strikes on southern Iran. According to this statement from the U.S. military CENTCOM, they're saying that these strikes are to impose costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, because they're also saying that this is in response to Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Both Saudi Arabia and Qatar have accused Iran of attacking their vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. And what we're now hearing from the U.S. military CENTCOM, they are now releasing the statement saying that they have begun a series of attacks on southern Iran. Let's bring in Tohid Asadi, who's live for us in Tehran. Tohid, what more do you know about these strikes now on Iran? What are they targeting?
Well, actually, officially speaking, at least from the military officials of the country, so far we don't have any confirmation regarding that, but it's still, we've got the state TV just saying that sounds of explosion have been heard at least in 2 locations, and according to the state TV IRIB, 6 explosions have been heard in the island of Qeshm. And for your information, Qeshm is the largest island in the vicinity of the Strait of Hormuz, with a very geostrategic significance when it comes to Iran's control and authority over the Strait of Hormuz. Also, the state TV says that at least 7 explosions have been heard in the areas close to Sirik port. And then again, Sirik port is very important because of the very fact that it oversees the Strait of Hormuz. Again, another point, another strategic point from which Iran imposes its control and authority over the Strait of Hormuz. We know that starting from the time after the signing of Memorandum of Understanding, we have been witnessing limited sort of, I would say, confrontation and escalation in this highly, I would say, escalated situation at the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says from time to time they have opened, reopened, and closed the strait, but every time they're saying that the authority for the strait is for Iranians. Any transiting of ships and vessels and oil tankers through the trajectory of the strait should be coordinated with the Iranian side. And on that, today we've got the statement from Qatari side saying that an attack happened targeting LNG tanker of Qataris. Iranian side came out to respond, calling it a questionable acquisition, contrary to the principle of good neighborliness.
Tohid, let's go over to Washington, D.C., because we've got Mike Hanna there live for us at the White House. So stand by for us, Tohid. We'll get back to you in just a minute. Mike, what are you hearing about these U.S. strikes on Iran? There was just a statement released by CENTCOM.
That is all we have at the moment, is a statement released by U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, saying that it's carried out a series of what it calls powerful strikes against Iranian targets. It says this follows the Iranian attack on 3 vessels crewed by civilians attempting to transit the Strait of Hormuz. So very clearly, CENTCOM now launched a new operation in this ongoing series of tit-for-tat strikes, as it would appear in recent days. CENTCOM is giving us no further information at the moment, apart from adding that it is deeply disturbed by these ongoing attacks by Iran and what they call the ongoing transgressions of the Memorandum of Understanding, which is supposed to govern the framework for negotiations between Iran and the U.S.
Mike, we also understand that the U.S. has now revoked the previous decision regarding the sanctions on Iranian oil, basically taking back that releasing of the sanctions to which were allowing basically Iran to sell its oil, but that's now been taken back. What can you tell us?
Indeed, yes. Now, this preceded the announcement from CENTCOM on this new round of attacks. So it appears that in addition to the military action that is taking place, earlier there was this economic pressure or economic retaliation being carried out. The Department of the Treasury has announced that it has removed that waiver of sanctions on the export of Iranian oil. Now, that waiver came into effect with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, which allowed Iran to freely export its oil. However, the Treasury says that this is conditionally based. Iran has not met the conditions, it says, and therefore it is revoking the waiver on these sanctions. Iran will no longer be able to export its oil with effect from July the 17th, when the sanctions effectively go back into effect, according to the Department of the Treasury.
Mike Hanna at the White House, stand by for us. Let's head back to Tehran. Tohid Asadi is there for us live. Tohid, we've heard also from the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson. He was basically saying that these accusations from Qatar and Saudi Arabia regarding those launching those strikes on the vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, he called those accusations perplexing and inconsistent with the principles of good neighborliness. So basically, Iran is not denying that they've launched these attacks. They just think that they have a right to do it. Is that how we should interpret this?
Well, they neither deny nor confirm, but they are putting emphasis on their control and authority over the Strait of Hormuz. And that is obviously something that we heard from the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ismail Baghai, not only calling it actually a questionable accusation, but also he said that based on the memorandum of understanding, Iran has got this right of management over the strait. He also called the regional countries to refrain from any action actually contrary to the provisions of the signed memorandum of understanding. And of course, he also put emphasis on the very statement that we are hearing from the Iranian side about the necessity and exigency of collaboration and coordination by the Iranian side and transiting through the predefined routes by the Iranians for the ships and vessels. That's something that we heard from IRGC from the time they started to, according to them, close the Strait of Hormuz. They said that any passage should be coordinated with the Iranian side. And of course, speaking of the context, we know that it's already being complicated by this recent decision by OFAC, regarding which I can say that it was not welcomed in Iran, being considered as another violation of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Tohid Asadi, live for us in Tehran. Also, thank you to Mike Hanna, live for us at the White House, about those U.S. strikes that have just begun launching over southern Iran.